Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies. And this is Peace by the Imperator AMORC. An article taken from Rosicrucian Digest, Volume 10, Number 3, April 1932. The Thought of the Month, Peace, by the Imperator AMORC. We have one grand opportunity again to turn our thoughts away from our individual trials and problems and to look over the broad landscape of universal assemblages of men and women and to get to the cosmic point of view of the brotherhood of man. Our first and only sad note in such a picture is the disturbed conditions that engulf men and women in China and Japan at the present time. As we have said over and over, war begins not in the diplomatic circles of nations, not in the political entanglements or violations of national ethics, but in the consciousness of man himself. In order to end warfare and strife, men must cease thinking of the possibilities of war. They must cease feeling that they have difficulties or problems, and think only of peace and harmony. Man must cease believing that his problems, whether of a personal or local nature, or international nature, can be settled only by contest, and by physical contest especially, a battle of wits or a mental contest, and strife centered at a round table where representatives of all nations are free to speak will someday become the proper and correct way of ending war. As long as man believes that his right is infringed, or that he has certain rights that can be infringed or abnegated, and that this infringement must be compensated for in a physical way, through test of the physical prowess of the countries involved, so long will wars be imminent. How long is it going to take man to realize that the greatest power he has is manpower, and that the greatest contest between men is a contest of intellect, of brain, and especially of mind power? A contest of wits would be bloodless. A contest of arguments regarding so-called rights and privileges would be equally as exciting and interesting to all persons concerned as the most bloody of wars. But you cannot make all men think this at the present time, and thus we have one group of men attempting to talk of disarmament, while another group in another part of the world is carefully preparing for and carrying out a great war. It is not a matter of disarmament, for all talk centering around the limitation of armament is a continuous recognition of the need of disarmament and a recognition of the feasibility of war. All nations might just as well build as large navies and as large standing armies as they possibly can, and then, at the same time, consider the horrors of warfare and the benefits of peace. It is well to be prepared for emergencies of any kind, including war, but preparation for an emergency should always be accomplished by a serious consideration of ways and means of preventing the emergencies. Every sane and rational businessman takes the precaution to secure fire security, and at the same time he takes the precaution to protect himself against the heaviest loss of fire. But he does not stop there. It would be foolishness to think that this would be sufficient. He goes further into the problem and discovers ways and means of preventing the fire, and thus ensures himself that he will need neither protection nor insurance against loss. Let man begin to recognize the brotherhood of man, and at the same time be responsible enough to recognize that there is no such thing as good and bad men and women, or good and bad nations throughout the world, but different individuals and different nations, and that each nation is entitled to its individual viewpoint, its individual custom and habits, and its individual rights and privileges. Then let him understand that these things are matters of opinions and are adjustable, flexible, and constantly varying. In this way, he will come to realize that the best way to adjust any differences, or to untangle any entanglements, or to settle any disputes is to talk these things over, and to put them upon an intellectual plane instead of upon a physical plane. For, after all, opinions are mental things. Customs and habits have their origin in the mind. Disputes and disagreements are the results of differences in judgments, differences in ideals, differences in beliefs, and all of these belong to the intellectual realm and not to the physical, material realm. They all have their origin in the mind of men and are more quickly removed from the minds than from the physical realms. So far as victory is concerned, what a price to pay for glory in the physical realm. After all, there is no victory so great as the victory of one mind over another in a contest of an intellectual nature. And it is certainly a joyous victory as compared to a muscular or physical power contest aided by bullets, cannonballs, poison gas, and other things. Let us, therefore, place all of our problems on an intellectual, mental basis and deal with one another as humankind, each endowed with the same human and divine abilities to think and reason, and we will take the greatest step forward in our approach to universal peace. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.